Hello, Carroll County. Welcome to the Carroll County 4-H and FFA Fair podcast, where we're preparing for the 2025 fair by sharing a little bit about what the fair is, how it works, and inviting you to be a part. My name is Sam Chamelin, and I am a Carroll County 4-H'er, parent, volunteer, and fair superintendent. So over the course of 4 episodes, we're going to be meeting with some special guests to share their experience of the fair and to get you ready for this year, because there's no place like the fair. Now, there are all kinds of fairs across the country, and each has its own focus and feel. But one of the things that makes Carroll County's fair unique is that we are specifically a 4-H and FFA fair. We make it about the children and youth by design. 4-H and FFA are staples of rural youth development across the country and have always been at the center of our fair experience. But there's a lot more to 4-H and FFA than you may know if you've just been to the fair. So today I thought we'd bring on a couple of experts in both of these programs. And so we welcome Becky Ridgeway, 4-H Extension Educator with University of Maryland Extension, and Amanda Jewell, President of the Westminster High FFA Alumni, Region 4 Rep for the Maryland State FFA Alumni, and Secretary for the Maryland State FFA Alumni. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having us.
And so we're going to start where we start each of these podcasts. What is your favorite part of the fair?
For me, it's seeing the kids and their development and growth over the years. Being with Carroll County now for 14 years, I'm seeing kids that were babies when I started and where they are now. It's just amazing to see their passion and dedication to the 4-H program and their projects that they get to exhibit at the fair.
You've been around for 14 years.
Yeah, 14 years. Crazy.
Goodness gracious, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you've seen a lot of kids come and go and a lot of awesome things happen in that time.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
It's crazy now because they really were in baby carriers when I started, and they're now senior members.
Including a couple of my own, that's for sure.
Yes.
So, and Amanda, what's your favorite part of the fair?
I think my favorite part is seeing all the projects, because I wasn't in 4-H. I was mainly just in FFA. So just seeing all the projects and seeing kind of what the kids come up with, especially with like the photography and with the parade, seeing, their kind of creativity with all of that.
Yeah, the creativity is wild. Sometimes it's creative, inspiring, and sometimes it's creative. Oh, you thought of that. Interesting. And so, yeah, the fair is a really special place. And thank you both for coming and hanging out and talking a little bit about it. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you do, your experience with these programs, where your passion lies in youth development. And Becky, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So 4-H has been a part of me forever. I am a second generation 4-H member. My mom was in the Montgomery County program, and I was in Frederick County's program. So I did everything from the showing the livestock, the traditional part of the program, to the public speaking, the baking, the sewing, canning, all of that, and was involved in my club community service projects. So as I was thinking of a future career, I actually was going to be an ag teacher and thought I would go down maybe the path of being an FFA advisor through that. But student teaching can change your mind sometimes. And just 4-H was kind of just in my blood. And I was very fortunate to find the job in Carroll County. I interviewed actually in a lot of different states for positions and was lucky enough to end up what I'm going to say is back home now, because Carroll County feels like home to me. So it was just always, I think, meant to be.
Yeah. And you are a livestock producer, yes? In your own right?
Yes. So I actually showed cattle starting when I was 5. And then I wanted a project that I could have in our backyard, because literally it is just a backyard, like in a neighborhood pretty much. So I got 2 sheep, which when I was 10. So
life-changing decision.
many years later, we have probably over 50 head of sheep now that started as a 4-H project, and we show nationally. So it's a really great connection that I can even use that to connect with the kids in the program. So when they're talking about their projects and everything, I'm like, I'm doing that, or I'm at a show, they're at a show, they see me doing the same thing. It's just been a really great way to connect with that community of kids that I get to work with.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So, and Amanda, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so kind of funny story. Like I said, I wasn't in 4-H, but my grandfather was in 4-H in Montgomery County. He showed Angus cattle, and he kind of rode horses a little bit, and then it skipped a generation. So my mom rode horses, but she wasn't a part of 4-H or FFA or anything. And then, since she had horses, I was on horses as soon as I could walk. So it was kind of in my blood too. And then when I got to high school, I found out about FFA a little bit and kind of tried to get our chapter started because the chapter kind of had been defunct for about 5 or 10 years. So, and that just kind of led the way for everything else.
And we were talking before we hit record on the pod that horse people are just a really unique breed of folks, but you're living every little girl's dream. You're riding horses all the time. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So wonderful. So we're going to start. So one of the things that I often hear people talk about when they talk about the fair is so often shorthand. They'll say, oh, the Carroll County 4-H fair. And I just want to pull my hair out. And it makes me laugh a little bit because I'm always reminding people that it's FFA too. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes FFA gets forgotten. I appreciate folks are talking in shorthand. I understand that. But nevertheless, I never want folks to forget that FFA is a really important part of our fair too. And so I wanted to give FFA a little pride of place today. And so Amanda, what is FFA? And is it still just Future Farmers of America?
Well, FFA is a student development organization, a student leadership organization. And it's not just cows and plows, like, people always
cows
think.
And plows. That's a good twist on that phrase. I like that. I'm going to use that sometime.
Yeah. So it actually has moved a lot towards the agriculture as a whole perspective, really. Like some of the career development events that the students can participate in have changed tremendously. Like there's still the livestock judging and poultry and that kind of stuff, but they also have started in the last probably 5 or 10 years like farm business management and agriculture communication and ag issues and stuff, kind of just encompassing all of that. So yeah, it really tries to help prepare students for their future careers, because like I said, with some of these career development events, they're really career focused. Like we have vet science and forestry, nursery, landscape, stuff like that. So students can kind of explore areas where they could work later in their lives before they even get out of high school. So
I remember having a conversation with a kid at church, and he was in FFA, but then was talking about he was in a competition of some sort and needed to pull out a whole bunch of spreadsheets because they were doing business work. And I was like, oh goodness, you're learning to run a business through FFA. And so these skills go beyond, again, cows and plows, and really have application for a lot of different, not only careers, but just, for one's daily life. And so I got an education pretty quickly that FFA goes far beyond what even I thought it was when I was going through high school. So that was pretty special. Tell me a little bit about kind of what the typical FFA member's path is. Like, how do you get in? What is the general kind of experience? Like, are there meetings? Where are those meetings? Who am I hanging out with? And sort of what kind of projects am I involved in? Like, what's a typical, typical experience for a high school FFA kid?
Yeah, well, so the cool thing about FFA is that there's not really a cookie cutter typical experience. A lot of the students who come in are kind of from an ag background, whether it's animals or like flowers or any of that. But some of the kids actually aren't in ag background at all, which is kind of cool. And then they can kind of explore all those areas. So the students need to be in some kind of agriculture class in order to be in FFA.
And that's through the schools?
Through the school,
okay.
And some counties actually have middle school FFA chapters as well.
This,
Boonesboro in Washington County is one of the ones that has a middle school chapter. But a lot of it is through the school. So it's kind of like I hate saying that it's a club because it's not really a club. But
your point is well taken.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's through the school. So they take ag classes, and actually in the freshman intro to Foundations of Tech Intro to Ag class, whatever you want to call it, there was actually a section on FFA and how to join and all of that. So normally there's an advisor. A lot of the time it's one of the ag teachers or one of the Foundation of Tech teachers. And there's meetings sometimes after school or during a flex mod for the students. They can come and participate. They really do a lot of different things. They do fundraisers. A lot of the schools have greenhouses that they can work in, projects like that they can get involved in. And then they can have do a supervised cultural experience after school or outside of school, that a lot of kids choose a lot of different things. Like we had a couple students in the past who like one of them worked at a vet clinic as kind of an internship and stuff like that. A couple people have rebuilt tractors. We had one girl who actually was doing an internship and her SAE was riding and working at a horse rescue in California. So that was really, really cool that she was able to do that.
FFA really drives towards, community student relationships and elevating that. And so, no, very good. So, you got the school-based program. Club, I totally understand what you're saying. That doesn't really capture the spirit of it. Yeah. It really is a much broader youth development program that's integrated inside the schools. Yeah. And my mom, some people that I graduated with, some dear friends of mine have been a part of that. And so, no, FFA is doing wonderful work. Yeah. And I want to turn it back over now to 4-H and to kind of illustrate some of the similarities and differences in that program. And so, Becky, tell us a little bit about 4-H. I don't know if all of our listeners know that 4-H actually means that there are 4 H's, and that is critical to the program. And so, what are the 4 H's, and then what is 4-H?
So the 4 H's, and there's a whole pledge that goes with it, but it's the head, heart, hands, and health.
You don't want to do the whole pledge?
No.
It's okay. No.
I was going to say, I could, but if I miss a word, oh, man.
You will hear about it from this pod, so.
But the pledge, they do say at the beginning of all club meetings.
Yes.
As part of that.
And so, so kind of tell us a little bit about 4-H, kind of, whereas FFA is school-based, 4-H is not.
Right. And, as I said earlier, I was in FFA, so FFA is really hitting on those 14-year-olds and older, where 4-H, you can actually start at 5 years old. So we have 5 to 18 is our age range. We go by your birthday as of January 1st. So our Clover members are our 5 to 7-year-olds, and they get to participate in a ton of activities. They're learning really what 4-H is. We have even a specific club in the county that fully focuses on that 5 to 7-year-olds, but they can also join any of our other 35 clubs we have in the county, too.
35? Is it that many?
Yeah, we have 35. 35 clubs in 850 4-H members.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's a pretty large program. So our members they're community-based members, so all 850 kids belong to a 4-H club. But they can be a member as many clubs as they actually want to belong to. So from the club setting, they're going to monthly meetings. They can run for office positions because the meetings are really led by our 4-H members. We want to build that leadership part of our kids. But part of the program, too, is our 4-H age, which is the 8 to 18. So that's where they're going to be able to compete in the competitive events. Clovers, we have lots of contests for them, but they get their participation ribbon.
They're a hoot. You should absolutely watch the Clovers do their thing. But yes, everybody gets a ribbon at the end of the day.
Yes. Yeah. And I know, we think about 4-H and we kind of, our mind a lot of times goes to the fair, but we are a year-long program and we're more than just livestock. I think that's a big part of it. And don't get me wrong, Carroll County loves their livestock and animal science programs.
Yes, we do.
70% of our youth are enrolled in an animal science related project. But there's so much more. We have robotics. We have shooting sports. We have an environmental science group that does a lot of partnerships with Department of Natural Resources. They're getting around to the different parks, experiencing different things, hiking. They're doing just a ton of good out there. So really, if you can think about it, we have it. I know, sitting here with Sam, rockets, I can't not say rockets.
That's 3 pods in a row. We've talked about rockets. Let's go.
But that's something, we don't think about and we don't advertise a lot, but a program that really has grown over the years, just like a natural resource program. And I think we see a ton of our youth participating in different programs. But as our kids are, aging up, and then they have national trip opportunities. Our judging programs are one way to do it, but we have leadership trips that kids are building resumes, having to write essays with it, going through interviewing skills, and competing on a state level to earn those trips. And we've been very fortunate in Carroll County to still have kids wanting to do that. And they're representing us all over the place and getting trips to National 4-H Congress in Georgia, or Camp Minnewanka that's in Michigan, and the other couple places that they can go, and scholarships. 4-H, and I mean FFA, these youth participating have a lot of scholarship opportunities, which I know helped me pay for college. And
no, I did a handful of trips, because of other people's scholarships. And that gets back to something we've talked about in another pod, is the community that gets built around both of these programs. The alumni program and FFA is so wonderful. And maybe 4-H has this, maybe it's not quite as dialed in, but I at least know in Carroll County, there's not an official alumni program, but we're all kind of alumni.
We'll just call them our volunteer base.
Yeah, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Yes. That's kind of how it works. And so both these programs, they are different in their own ways, and reach different kids at different things. But at the end of the day, we're talking about youth development, and we're talking about the development of the whole person throughout the course of the year. Fair is just one of those places where, all that work kind of becomes public, and we get to take it all in.
I like to say it's like the Super Bowl for the kids.
It really is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, there's training camp, and there's regular season games, and there's meetings and all of that. And that's one of the things about the fair I really want to communicate to our listeners, is that what you're seeing is the culmination of a ton of work by a ton of people in both programs. And that's what makes that brings some of the specialness of the fair, is you can't see it behind the scenes, but it's there. So I want to keep talking about briefly, because we talk about these things as a whole a whole year program, and there's so much more than the fair. And so I'll turn back to FFA. Like, what are some of the other kind of big opportunities for FFA members to participate in? Like some of the things that if I'm an FFA member and I make it to this, I feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah. So kind of the biggest thing for FFA members to compete in are state convention and national convention. So a lot of the contests at state convention are the people who have made it to the top 4 at the regional contest, because we have 5 regions in the state. So like for the public speaking events and like the ag mechanics events, they compete at the regional level, and then they can go compete at the state level. And then the top people from the state contest get to go to national convention. Or they can also go to Big E, which is a different contest in Massachusetts. So national convention is in Indianapolis, and it's always a big thing that the students like to go to. There's, of course, the contest, but there's also a couple rodeos, and they have concerts, and, colleges are there, and different, like, Army recruiters, and there's just a whole lot for the students to go and experience while they're there. Yeah. And, they get to meet people from all across the state, all across the country. I met a couple people, in the state, and when I went to national convention that, I still keep tabs on them on Facebook and all that stuff. So.
And so what starts just in a high school, and a handful of middle schools, we'll talk. What starts in a high school, just in a club, in an organization, you're going to regional, then you're going to state, then you're going to national. And so you just continue to elevate throughout this. And so a lot of place for you to develop, to grow, to challenge yourself. It's a lot more than just, I attend this club in high school. Yeah. And that's a really special thing about FFA. And you meet those people. And I want to make sure I mention this, and there is the part of, there is the moment where you get your blue jacket. Talk about the jacket for a second, because that's the single most identifying thing about an FFA member.
So the blue jacket is just really special for the members, because it's just like a sign that you're in this organization, and it's just something that's bigger than just yourself. You know, and a lot of chapters will have like a set of jackets for students to wear the first couple years, but there's something really special about getting your blue jacket with your name on it, you know.
It's your name and your school and your state, right? Do I have that right? Okay.
Yeah, on the back, it's on the top is your chapter, so your school, and then on the bottom is the state. But on the front is your name, your office if you have one, and then the year that you had your office. And that's where the students can wear their pins for their CDEs and their LDEs, for their offices that they had, all that kind of stuff.
So it functions a little bit like a varsity jacket.
Yeah.
If you think sports.
Yeah. And it's really cool to see some of the kids, because the ones who compete a lot in a different contest, you know, because they can only have 3 pins on the front, they'll open their jackets because there's some pockets inside, and they'll just be covered in pins, and it's really cool.
That is cool.
And then it's really cool to go to like state convention and national convention and just see the sea of blue jackets.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty special. And so I wanted to bring that up because that's one of the ways you can identify FFA members at the fair.
Absolutely.
Is every once in a while, because I get questions about this all the time. That kid's in there, he's not dressed quite like everybody else. He's got his jacket on. It's 100 degrees. What are they doing with that jacket on? Well, I'll tell you, it's that moment of pride where you're like, nope, you're representing far more than yourself. And so if you see the kid in the blue jacket, that is an FFA member who's proud of being. And Becky, it sounds like you were pretty proud of your jacket. You keep giving me the head bob over here.
I mean, I have the jacket. I mean, it's not something like you just are like, oh, I'm gonna donate, you know, because I don't need it anymore.
That would be really sad to see a jacket hanging in a Goodwill.
It would.
That would break my heart.
It would, but I think everybody keeps them, and you can look back, especially when you get into seeing like people's family pictures and the generations of, you know, grandpa, grandma, you know, your parents, you're in it, and then like it just continues. Yeah, it's you cannot miss an FFA kid when they're at an event.
Well, and that's my thing. Like we still have my grandfather's FFA jacket when he was in there, and like I wore his jacket for my first contest, and then I got my own jacket, and then like my brother was in FFA, and he wore my grandfather's jacket for his first contest. So it's just like, it's kind of like a rite of passage almost to get the jacket handed down through the generations. And
I think that same spirit is why fair is kind of the way it is. Like, it really is about more than just yourself. And so all of that is happening in the background, you know, with so many of these kids, you know, and stop one of the kids, ask them their story. You know, you never know whose jacket they've got on or what their story is. And so thank you. And 4-H want to highlight some of the opportunities, you know, you've got a club, you're hanging out in your club, you might have a couple of clubs, whether they're general clubs or project-specific clubs. But as you're going through 4-H, what are some opportunities that are in front of Carroll County kids to think outside of their club and just the county?
So I think that's what makes Carroll County 4-H unique, is we have a lot of opportunities for our youth outside of the club setting. One of those would be the 4-H Ambassador Program, which you can consider kind of being like the elites of the program. I
like that you put it that way. Y'all will find out why later.
But these are our kids that they want to promote 4-H. They want to be out there. They want to be serving the community. So we have our senior ambassador team, which is our 14 to 18-year-olds, where they have to put together an application. It has to have reference letters with it. They used to do a presentation for us. We switched it up to make it a little more personal with an essay and kind of really what 4-H means to them. And from there, we can have anywhere from, you know, a dozen of our members to 20 some years that will apply to make that senior team. And we take 10. And they go through the whole process, and it is not an easy decision when we're sitting down with the judges at the end, because all these kids bring something to the table that you want to share, but it's picking those ones that are like, we can only have so many, so it's just those little nitpicky things that get to the end. But we start the program with junior ambassadors too, so our 11 to 13-year-olds. And what's really unique is we have the senior team, after they're selected, do the interviewing of the juniors. And it's so interesting when you get in that room after that day and the kids are like, this is the hardest thing. Like, we don't want to make this decision. Like, we want all the kids, but you're like, but it's life decisions here. And this is what you're going to experience later in life that you're learning today.
That's what it means to be a leader. You got to make decisions.
It is. And the other thing we started a couple years ago was the Junior Fair Board. So that is the youth are elected from their clubs. So each club can send one representative. And so we have a completely different group of kids. We have some of our ambassadors that are doing both, but we have a lot of other youth that have joined the program. And we include FFA as part of the Junior Fair Board because they are a part of our fair. So we're really fortunate this year to actually have a bigger FFA representation on that board, which was great to see.
Yeah.
And these are our youth that are going to one day be the next fair board.
Yeah, they're going to be the fair board.
Who knows? There
fair
could be like the next fair chair could be sitting in the room right now. Who knows? But they are bringing new things to the fair. Like, they started fair tours this year. They are doing bedtime stories 5 nights that week of reading animal stories of the animal that's showing that day. So they're really trying to bring new ideas. They've brought back like alumni showmanship. So that's, as we were talking about, all of those, parents and adults that come back and volunteer. Well, it gets a little competitive out there when they get a chance. Yeah, they are not. You can watch, and it's just a fun time. And the kids, what's really great is the money that they raise from like alumni showmanship, they gave back to the fair to help with like the live streaming and everything, which was a fantastic idea that they had to bring in some funding to help support something that they were passionate about. We have a youth livestock committee we work with that gets to help shape our spring shows and educational activities. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot to work with.
Yeah, and that's just in the county. There's also, national trips as well, larger gatherings.
Yeah, I mean, the National 4-H Congress is the big one. That's the big leadership trip that the youth can go on. And this year we had 4 of our members go to 4-H Ignite, which had about 2,000 4-H members from across the country come to D.C. And they had several days of taking different classes there. From STEM and healthy living, there was animal science. And when those 4 4-Hers came back, they all said, we want to go again, but we want to go and teach. So that's what we're in the process of doing now with those 4, is submitting their proposals to go and teach next year. Yeah, and they all have 4 different very ideas of what they want to teach too, from ruminants to sewing to service projects to healthy, making like cookie mix healthy in a jar that participants can take home then.
And so what we have, represented at the fair, and you see it kind of pop up, we have FFA and their blue jackets. We have, 4-Hers and their green shirts, certainly the ambassadors. We have these different experiences that kids are having and different programs, and they're structured differently. But ultimately what we're talking about at the end of the day, again, is youth development. That, the pigs or the gardens or the horses or the rockets are wonderful ways to get kids involved, keep them moving, get them interested in something. But at the end of the day, that's all, it's not secondary, but it's a means by which we grow young men and women. And you see that happen at the fair. And so, and it goes beyond that. In FFA, you're going to national conference, you're going to National 4-H Congress as a 4-Her, those sorts of things. And so developing leadership, developing citizenship, those sorts of things. That's where, once you get that kind of in the back of your head, all of a sudden you're like, wow, what happens at fair is special, but it's so much more than fair. And that's where, just watching these kids develop is so much fun. And so, both of you have spoken really eloquently about youth development, growing young men and women, and being invested in that. Do I have that right from both of you?
Yes, definitely.
Good. Okay. All right, well, I want to say thank you so much for coming in and just doing just helping so many folks understand what's the difference and what is going on at fair. And I hope that brings some clarity to fair experience for everyone who's going to show up. And so I'm going to ask you one question in 2 parts to wrap up. First of all, for each of your organizations, what's the first thing someone can do who says, I want to be a part of that? Give some way of like, all right, here's the first step. Here's what you ought to do. And then on the backside of that, obviously one of the first things we want you to do is come to the fair. And so what is one thing you don't want anyone to miss at the fair this year? So how do I get involved, and what should I check out at fair? Either one of you can go first.
So I think for FFA, the best way to get involved is to reach out to somebody about a chapter, whether it's an alumni chapter. I think we have, I don't know off the top of my head, which is bad because I'm Region 4. But I think we have 5 alumni chapters in the county that are really, really involved. And we're trying to get more. So if you know somebody at the high school, you can reach out to them to get involved in the alumni chapter. For the student chapter, if you have a student, just enroll in an ag class or ask about ag classes, and just drop in for a meeting and just kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah, give it a chance.
Yeah. And then my favorite thing kind of the fair has always been the parade. So make sure you don't miss the parade.
Oh, that's a fabulous answer. Nobody's given that one yet. No, I love it. And it's one of the places where I'm like, oh, there goes the FFA float. Yeah. It really is one of the places.
There's the FFA. There's all the, there's that 4-H chapter and that one. And it's
always good for a laugh, always good for some creativity, and always good for some free candy if you sit yourself right. So absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Becky?
To get involved in 4-H, there's a lot of different ways, but contacting the Carroll County Extension Office and having a conversation with me or our other 4-H educators and admins in the office, because you can get involved as little as you'd like, from maybe you just want to have an experience at the fair. We're always looking for judges to work with the kids. So I don't know, if you love chocolate chip cookies or something, we can probably find you a spot.
We can get you your fill, I guarantee it.
To judge, but to wanting to become more involved. And maybe you're like, hey, we don't have a 4-H club in this part of the county. What do I need to do? What does it take to get that started? So really you can be as involved and you can live the 4-H life, or you can just give a little bit of your time and we can get you connected somehow, whether it's through our 4-H program that's year round, or if you're looking specifically just Fair Week, hey, I can give a couple hours to judge something or volunteer in the food booth.
Yeah.
Definitely is always options. And I think coming out to the fair, check out the Red Building, the indoor entries. There are some amazing things in there you are going to see, from the mechanical arts of youth that have refurbished tractors to their welding projects, to the environmental displays, to lost art, sewing arts, the general department, crafts, all of it's there. I mean, there's even a writing department that you could really sit down and look through and read essays and short stories of the kids. So that gives a very good idea of some of the things the kids are doing that you're not going to see if you just go down to look at the animals in the barn, which of course do that too, but support those indoor building kids too.
You're 100% right. And I never fail. I walk through that building multiple times every year, but I always try to make sure I have one time where I really walk through it. And I never cease coming out of there going, you know what, I should try that. That's really creative. Oh, I wonder if I could do that. And more oftentimes than not, it's an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid who's inspired an old man like me. And so, don't miss that. Doesn't have it, the shows are wonderful. There's a lot of energy, but boy, that Red Building is just full of passion. And so I invite you to go and grab a kid and ask them about their project, and just listen to the stories. So, well, you two have been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in. I hope our listeners have figured out a little bit about these things and have gemmed up some interest about, hey, be a part of that in some way, shape, or form. So thank you both so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Be sure to tune in to cable channel HD 1072 and channel 19 for live streaming coverage of the fair. You can also see it live on YouTube or on our website at carrollmediacenter.org.